Here in lovely Whistler, British Columbia, as the Canucks training camp comes to a close, Whistler Mountain in the background here. JPat, what did you see from training camp that stood out to you? Give us 3 takeaways that stood out for JPat.
I think the first one has to be offensive depth. We spent all summer talking about the Canucks assembling increased depth up front, and then you see Andrei Kuzmenko for yourself in person on the ice wearing a Canuck uniform. Ilya Mikheyev in his first training camp as a Vancouver Canuck. They bring in Dakota Joshua, Curtis Lazar, and then you have a guy like Nils Höglander who essentially is skating on a 5th line here at training camp, and yet you heard Bruce Boudreau on Friday say, through 2 days at the very least, maybe the best skater in camp. So we spent all summer talking about increased depth. I think we saw it here through 3 days at Whistler.
Yeah, we saw some nice goals in the scrimmage today as well. Newcomer Andrei Kuzmenko, yeah, write that name down. He's going to be a threat for the Canucks this year. What else you got?
The right side of the defense, another area that I think people were interested in with this news that Quinn Hughes was going to shift over and try his hand at the right side. And again, he's so smart. He's got the high hockey IQ. I'm not surprised that he was able to adapt quickly. I think the Friday scrimmage was a bit of a work in progress, but man, on Saturday, he looked like vintage Quinn Hughes, leading the rush, making things happen, drawing people to him. So you've got Quinn Hughes on the right side. I also think a low-key good news story through this camp, Tucker Poolman, making it through the camp, participating every day, even scored a goal in the scrimmage on Friday. So we talk about depth up front. I think we're seeing a little bit of depth. I think there's 13 guys on defense that have played in the National Hockey League here in this camp. So the Canucks do seem to have some depth on the back end.
Now, Danny DeKeyser, he's on a PTO right now. He looks good on the ice, standing next to Tyler Myers, but what do you got? Do you think he's going to make the team?
Well, I think that's my other takeaway is newcomers, and DeKeyser was a guy that I watched. Boy, he's got size. Tyler Myers, obviously, he's got the big wingspan. You know, they take up a lot of ice, and so I'm really curious to see. It's one thing to come to a training camp on a PTO. If DeKeyser is going to earn a contract and make this team, it's going to happen during the preseason.
Well, there you have it. Rink-wide, live from Canucks training camp. We'll be back with a post-game show. That's right, post-game edition of Rink-wide coming up next on Sunday as the Canucks take on the Flames.